Today, I'm going to run through with you a typical patient journey through a typical day surgery. It doesn't mean that this process is fixed in place. CareRight is very configurable and can be configured to align to any desired business processes or workflows that you may have. So you'll be able to see that I'm in Maggie Carlson's profile at the moment. And I guess before we get stuck into the typical demo day surgery demonstration, I'll just orientate you a little bit with CareRight. If I click back on dashboard here, I go back to what I call the global view. This dashboard is quite configurable. You can see that I've got an appointment panel in here. And I've got my most recent assessments, but we can put in, they're almost like widgets. You can put in different things that you want to see as soon as you log in. What we're looking at here is the global view. And this is assuming there's multiple locations and the user has to be across all of those locations. If we want to drill down to a location, we can go into locations, choose our location, and you can see now that I'm in the Clintow Centre location, all these options on the left-hand side are now relevant to that particular location. And just for an example, if I wanted to go to admission coding, here I could see over these dates for this location, all of the admissions that are currently non-coded and the ones that have been coded, just for example. So I've shown you the global view, the location view. Another possible view is a provider view, where a provider can log in and they have all of their information listed here, but they can have all of their tasks that they wish to have at their fingertips readily available on that left-hand panel there. An example of that is if they want to generate a theatre list that they may have in a couple of days' time, for example. So that's three views. The fourth view you've already seen, and that's a patient's profile. I'll just go into Maggie Carlson, who is one of our typical demo patients. As soon as we get into Maggie Carlson's profile, we can see that she has a red banner. This indicates that there are alerts and allergies listed towards Maggie Carlson. And this banner is quite configurable too. And what I've done with my demo banner is I've listed the alerts and allergies that Maggie has listed towards her name. And as you can see, she is an asthmatic. And the more I listed, maybe she's allergic to latex. If I listed that, it would appear here, and different diagnoses, alerts and allergies can be populated on the screen. You can see I've also included where this patient attends, what her MRN is. This is a specific medical number that your practice may or may not want the patient to have. We can see the referring doctor and other information about Maggie. Continuing on with our CareRight familiarization, the last thing I want to show you is independent of what screen you're in, you'll always have this little help icon down the bottom right-hand corner. If you click on that, you can look up any article that you wish to get help on. For instance, if I want to get help on claiming, I'm just going to type in their claim, and now all of these articles appear for me to click on and read and review. And obviously, if you can't find what you're looking for here, or if your problem is not resolved, you can always contact us here. Okay, so let's go back to a typical day surgery patient journey. So assuming that we've just received a referral from I guess the medical specialist or another type of referral, we can go into them, and I'm not going to show you how to generate a new patient account because I think that's pretty rudimentary. Just, I guess, a basic comment about that is we can have any fields that you want selectable, mandatory fields. Any information you really want to gather at that patient registration stage, we can make available for you. But once you've done the basic demographics of the patient, we can go down to referrals. We can add in a new referral. And this is a drop-down box of all of our current referrers. If we wanted to add a new one, we can, but let's just say that Jeff has referred Maggie. We can hit create referral. And likewise, if we go back to referrals, we can refer out if we need to for any particular reason. Again, same mechanism, use your library or add a new one. In this instance, we just have to put the medical provider who's referring out. We can add in some correspondence here. We can either free type or make use of one of our saved templates. Nothing's really relevant, unfortunately, here to referring out, but maybe if I'll just use discharge plan. You can see that the template actually pulls in the desired information from the patient's account to generate that correspondence. Just going to hit OK, and I'm going to go create referral. So we've just referred out. The last thing we want to do at this stage too is probably upload a referral. So if we just go again in the patient's account, go to documents, new reported document, we can put in a provider, we can choose a document from the desktop. Here's one I just have, which I keep on my desktop, create document, and we've recorded that new referral against the patient's name. Now, I do that at the start because the other good thing that CareRight has about it is if you progress through the system or through workflows and you don't have important things registered, such as a referral, you will get alerts come up. It's not that they're blockers, but when we go to book an appointment, we'll get a warning saying, this patient doesn't have a referral, but we won't have that problem in this case because we've registered a referral. Now, I guess I'll just briefly mention at this point too, we have workflow automation available throughout CareRight, but to make a comment now that we can automate your patient intake process. And I won't demonstrate anything now, I'll just talk to it, but using workflow control, intelligent forms, and tasks, we can automate that patient intake journey. And let's just say you have multiple departments within your business, dependent on, and we'll use a referral as an example, dependent on what is specified on the referral, an admin person or any person within your business may transition that incoming patient down a different department within your organization, depending on what's required. But I'll just suffice to say that that's available within CareRight, and I won't demonstrate it today. Okay, so I guess at this stage, we're going to book Maggie in an appointment. We can do this from a variety of locations. One's from the global view. A really easy one is from the patient view. If I just click on appointments here, here's where I can see all of my previous appointments or upcoming appointments, but I want to book a new appointment. And we can list any type of calendar view you want to have listed. For instance, it could be a doctor, it could be a theatre, it could be a room, it could be a team of people. Maybe it's a doctor and anaesthetist combination or a doctor and a nurse combination. But what we're going to do today for simplicity is we're just going to look for free time in theatre 2 for Maggie. And we're going to do, this demonstration is set up to do an embryo transfer, an IVF day surgery process for no other reason other than it's quite general. So we'll just go search. So we've just searched the calendar for Theatre 2. You can see that Gordon Jones can do it at 8 a.m. on the 12th, or Olivia Wilde could do it at midday on the 12th, or there's other appointment slots as well. Let's book her in with Gordon at 8 a.m. on the 12th. So we're going to go book. We can see the patient's names populated, the appointment, the location address. We can fill out more information here if we wanted to. We won't today, just for simplicity, a nice quick demonstration. This is where our referrer has been pulled in. We can specify an anaesthetist as well. And why don't we put in an assistant? I'm putting these in now just so you'll be able to see these populate in our theatre list a little bit later. So we're going to hit create appointment. We get a nice green notification that has been successful. I'm going to hop out of Maggie Carlson's file now, and I'm going to go back to the global appointments list, and I'm going to search for Theatre 2, and I'm going to select work week. And you can see for the 12th, with Gordon Jones, we've booked Maggie in. Now at this point, if we click on the appointment, we can edit the status. We can go in and we can update more fields as they become apparent to us. We can also update the status. These are user definable. So if some of these seem irrelevant to you, we could get them out and put in things that are more relevant. Just a nice way to transition your patient through the day surgery. You can see we have a whole other list of user functionality here available at the appointment view. I guess what everyone involved in the theatre, I guess the screen that they would use would be the list view. If I just click on list here, Now you can see for the 12th, we've got one patient booked in. It's actually a bad example. I'm actually going to go back and I'm going to go last week. Yeah, see, we have a lot of appointments booked in for last week. If I click on list view now you can see how powerful that list view is. So Monday, the 4th of 7th, you can see all of the surgeries we had. We can see where they took place, what type of surgery it was, who the surgeon was. This is a hot link to the patient's account. So if I click on that, I can go in and review some information about the patient. You'll see too, this form is available for some consultations. We have something within CareRight called intelligent forms, and it's a technology that allows us to build any type of assessment, op report, consultation workflow, any information gathering tool we can build as an intelligent form. Intelligent forms, as the name would suggest, once you put the data in there, you can push and pull that data throughout CareRight. You can even report on that data as well, which is very, very handy. But in my experience, most surgeons have a different op report that they like to use for different procedures. And we can configure that down to the surgeon level, where if I click on this form here, this form now populates and it asks exactly what the surgeon wants to go through as part of this procedure. So don't get hung up on the detail here. As I just suggested, we could make this be whatever you want it to be through drop-down boxes, free type sections, radio buttons, and we can also associate automation triggers with the answers. For instance, if we answered, let's say, yes here, yes to narcotics, it may trigger another workflow for further investigation. In this instance, it might be, patient needs to have a blood test. So a workflow is initiated down to the nurse level, where the nurse may take, do that kind of test with the patient, just for example. Now I'll just go back to that list view. So and I'll just go back to the actual appointment that we're looking at today. Here's Maggie. So we'll go back to that list view. You'll see whenever we book a patient in, and then we go to our theatre list. And if I just find the theatre list for the 12th, here we go. Here's the 12th. I'm going to hit show. When you book in a surgical appointment, that appointment is automatically going to populate on the theatre list. So you can see we've booked in Maggie at 8 a.m. You can see the information we populated and that appointment is pulled through. Obviously, we could have added a lot more information. That would all be available here. But if we wanted to update it now, we could hit edit and continue to fill out that information. And we can print that op report too. We have a bit of configurability options with our, sorry, not op report, our theatre list. So if our theatre list doesn't look exactly the way you want it to look, we do have some ability to alter that a little bit. Okay, so we have registered the patient. We've booked the patient in for a consultation, sorry, not a consultation, a surgical appointment. The next thing we probably want to do is collect more information from Maggie. So that's where we can use intelligent forms and the patient interaction module. I'm just going to get my demonstration email ready to show you. There we go. Just going to delete that one. Okay. So we want to find out more information about Maggie. The way we can do that is through assessments, which are otherwise known as intelligent forms or assessments. So if I go new here, and if I type in health, I can search for our patient health questionnaire that we have within in our smart form library. I've queued that one up. I'm now going to either send it to the patient via email, SMS, or QR code. I'm going to share it via email. And now I'm pretending I'm the patient. I'm clicking into my email. It says you have this new smart form to complete. I click on it. Obviously, this email would look a lot prettier if it was associated with a live account. For instance, there'd be branding and coloring in there. But in its very essence, it's directing the patient to click on a secure link to fill out the health questionnaire. You can see the form is that intelligent that it's even populated in the information that we already have. So I want to correct that. I'm a Mrs. instead of a Miss, and my preferred name is Maggie. And I could continue to fill out the rest of this information, which I won't do for a nice speedy demonstration today. As soon as the patient's completed it, the patient would get a notification to say it's all done. And now if I update my clinical version of CareRight, and if I go in and review Maggie's work, and then I say to myself, yes, this makes sense. We want to associate this with the patient's account. We can then approve that data to be saved to the patient's clinical file. And as you can see, that change that we made, Miss to Mrs, has now updated the system. Another thing we probably want to do at this point too is let the patient know what they're in for, through lack of better words. So maybe we could do that via a video pre-op. So I'm going to queue that one up. And now I can send that again via email, SMS, or QR code. Pretending I'm the patient again. Here's my email from CareRight or the Clintow Centre. I can click on it, click on the link. And I just wanted to show you that with these intelligent forms, we can even embed multimedia. So now the patient can click on that. They can watch the preoperative instructions on what to expect as part of an embryo transfer. Just going to pause that one. Now we can have a whole list of questions here where you're asking the patient, have you understood? Do you have any concerns? Have you started any new medications? Something like that. And in its most simplest form, we can ask the patient, have they understood? And then submit that one. And you get a notification back in the clinical side of CareRight that the patient has completed that preoperative video, and that's been ticked off the preoperative checklist. Okay, so now today's the day to pre-admit Maggie Carlson, and obviously the benefit of a pre-admission is it occurs before the admission, and it allows you the time, resource, and capacity to collect all of the really important information you need about Maggie. For instance, you could do an online eligibility check. Now I'm going to pre-admit Maggie. I'm going to click pre-admit here. I'm going to select the location she's coming into. She's coming in on the 12th. Remember the appointment that we booked? She's coming in for an embryo transfer. We'll just put a reason. I'm just going to put treatment today. Admitting doctor, the Clintow Centre. Listing the presenting illness code is how you communicate to the health fund Maggie's eligibility. So we're doing a 302 today for assisted reproductive services. The system has automatically chosen Maggie's health fund, but of course we could change that if we needed to. We're going to leave the out-of-pocket expenses blank because the health fund will tell us what that needs to be. So I'm going to hit pre-admit. Fantastic, patient was successfully pre-admitted. So the first thing we want to do here is do an OEC. So the system is communicating with the health funds now, and soon we'll get a nice little report. If I scroll up, this is the communication from the health fund, just commenting on online eligibility check. Here's the detail. Now, one thing my demo environment doesn't do is put in the co-payment and the excess. If this was a live account, for instance, if this was your CareRight, the health fund would automatically update these boxes. And let's just do $100 today and 50. That's a manual step you wouldn't have to do, which is a nice little workflow. Once the health fund has told us what the co-payment and excess will be, we can hit update. And we've now checked off that financial check operation. Okay. So the next thing we may want to do with the patient, now that we've pre-admitted her, is give her an estimate. So we can go back to Maggie's profile. We can go to accounts. We're doing it under her health fund, remember? So we can see that we have the health fund listed and we can create an estimate. We're going to hit create estimate. Again, if this wasn't a demo environment, this would pull across. So this would automatically update here. We can put in our line item numbers. I'm going to add that line item to the estimate. Now I'm going to put in an accommodation charge. And these are just examples. They may not be the exact item numbers that we use, but I'm just using these numbers today for demo purposes. We can now create estimate. So I put in the item number and the accommodation charge. I can now print that estimate. There we go. So we can print that one off. We can give it to the patient either manually or electronically. I guess at this point too, we may want to do an informed financial consent, which you can just select from print merge forms, IFC. Now, again, if this wasn't a demo environment, the values would actually populate in here. It's not because it's my demo environment. You can see that the template has pulled in other information about the patient. Now, what we can actually do is we can include the functionality where we could actually give this to a patient on a tablet in clinic. At this point, the patient could then use the draw function to sign it, and then we could actually save that one to our desktop. And now that is a form of an electronic signature. If you wish to get the patient to sign it manually, you can do that, but obviously you have to print it off, get them to sign it, then scan it back in. So we have some options there. Okay, just looking to where I'm up to with the demonstration. Now we're going to fast forward to the day of admission. So we can go into Maggie's account, and I guess look, I'll go back a step. A really nice way of doing this would be back at that location view, and we can go to pre-admissions. It's already populated the 12th, but I mean, if it hadn't, we could search what date we wanted to look at, all admissions on a particular date. We can see Maggie's coming in, we can see the information we need to, we can see that co-payment and excess. We could at this point do another OEC if we chose. We could print the HC21. And the demo instance in this particular scenario is printing off the left-hand side, where again, you could do it manually or you could do it electronically. So we have options there. And I guess some practices won't even use an HC21 because it's all online claiming. Some will do both. Some will just do HC21. So we can give you a solution to address any desired workflow you want with the HC21. We're going to go back to that location pre-admission screen. So I'm all set to go to admit Maggie. I'm going to hit admit. And what I want to come to is this. This is a nice notification to say, well, we were supposed to take a co-payment and an excess for this patient, but we haven't. In fact, the message isn't saying that, it's just saying check. So I'm going to check. I'm going to go back and I'm going to go to Maggie's account. Oops, wrong person. Going to go to Maggie Carlson. I'm going to go down to invoices and credits. I'm going to go new deposit. Clintel Center. I'm going to go, let's just take a cash payment today. We do have Tyro integration for credit card payment. $150, create receipt and print. Excellent. So we've taken that deposit. We can print that one off, give it to the patient or send it to the patient. So now if I go back to my location view and the pre-admission screen, now if I admit Maggie, it will say, have you taken this? We now know that we have, so we can just cancel through that. We can update any information we need to here, but we're ready to admit Maggie, so we're going to hit admit. Lovely. So the most noticeable change that we'll see is this flare that occurs in the patient banner. It means that any person passing through Maggie's account can see that she is currently admitted into the hospital. And for example, I'm just going to get myself down a rabbit hole here. I'm going to go into clinical notes or something like that. If I wanted to very quickly get back to the admission, all I have to do is click on that flare and it's going to take me to the current admission for me to edit the admission, cancel it, enter a new episode, discharge, start creating a discharge plan, change the category, or we've got a cancer notification integration as well. But if I go back to the location screen, and some day surgeries do this, other day surgeries don't, but we're going to allocate a room now. We're going to go to occupancy. We can see that Maggie is incoming. We need to assign her a bed. So I go to assign, it's saying, and we can, and these are user definable, we can have any entity you want there. Just for demo purposes, we have room 1, bed 1, and we have post-op. Let's assign it a bed, room 1, bed 1, assign. Lovely. So Maggie has been assigned to that room, going back to Maggie's account. We will now see that the banner will be updated as well. So not only can we see that she's admitted into the Clintel Centre, and she's currently assigned to room 1, bed 1. Okay. So fast forwarding a little bit now, I guess the next thing we'd want to do is prepare Maggie for theatre. And I guess the first thing that we would do would be within her clinical file. So if I go to appointments and I'm looking at today, oops, I'll go work week, and then I'll go, there we go. So we go list view. So this is the screen that the nurse, the anaesthetist, the doctor, anyone that was involved in the theatre process would start from. So let's prepare Maggie's file for theatre. Just going to get rid of some tabs here. Going to go into Maggie's page. Perhaps I want to familiarize myself with previous clinical notes. I can search by a category, by discipline, by user, date range, or even by case. And here's all the historical clinical notes we have for Maggie. We can create a new one, and we can either do that by free typing or using a template. So, again, I haven't got a great example here to show you, but maybe the template we want to use is this one, where we could, it's some type of template where we're preparing the patient for theatre. We may want to go down and review diagnosis and history. There's nothing in here now. We have notified, we do know that Maggie's an asthmatic, so why don't we add that in there? We use the ICD 10 and 11 codes here, so I'm just going to go asthma. There we go. Create diagnosis. So you can see we've just added a new diagnosis there. But back to the example, we're reviewing Maggie's profile pre-theatre. So in here we could hop in, we could go, oh yes, noting that Maggie is an asthmatic. And obviously we can add other diagnoses here too. We can go down to pathology and imaging. We can review any pathology or imaging results that are on hand, or we can plan other tests. We can review medications, or we can write medications. Just as a side note here, if you have a MIM subscription, we would integrate that into CareRight for you. So you can search the MIMS. I might just quickly show you actually. You can search the MIMS database. I might just do Mycartis, hit search. Here I can search all the different Mycartis tablets. Let's just choose this one and hit select. We can it's come up with the restricted information. We can hit accept. I think I just have to put some instructions in here. Then I can go accept again, and then I should be able to print that prescription. So we can set that up to be able to print to prescription paper within your practice. I'll just cancel that one. You don't need to see that one. Back to Maggie's page here. Other things we may want to do in preparation of Maggie's surgical appointment is we may want to get a whole heap of paperwork ready. Now we have lots of solutions here. Just noting that some day surgeries do everything paper-based. They may print a full assessment or op report, medication chart pack to have on hand to add to hard copy in the theatre. We're also capable of doing everything electronic. So any form that you want to complete in theatre, we can have on hand as assessment. You could just populate CareRight on an iPad in theatre, hit new, and one example might be OBS and response chart, which we can perform. We can add to this in theatre, and we can even hit save and continue for later, which means other users can come in and add to that as well. Other examples might be a medication chart. So whether you want to do this electronically in theatre, you can do it from Maggie's profile, or you can print all of these assessments off pre-theatre and have them as a pack to be able to take them in theatre, or maybe as a step of bridging between doing everything paper-based and electronic, you may want to start these forms, go in and populate as much information as you can, then print them off as hard copy templates for further completion in theatre. And then obviously any hard copy documents that you'd use, you can just then go into documents in the patient's account, and you can pull these into the patient's account as hard copy versions. But obviously, you know, the gold standard is paperless and electronic, which we can definitely help you achieve. Another way of printing all the forms ready for theatre would be through print merge form. Just depends. We've got lots of solutions to generate a workflow which is desirable for you. So this would be the instance of printing some type of form to have in theatre for completion. Okay, so we've prepped Maggie for theatre. We can notify other users within our company that Maggie is now ready for the procedure. We can hit update. And if I just go back to appointments, and I'll just go to, and if I hit update here, we can see that Maggie is now ready for procedure. Any theatre, any user can see that within the calendar, which is denoted as a P in the top left-hand corner of Maggie's file. Okay, so next step would be discharge and separation. So remember, the most easiest way to do that would be just to click on the flare within the patient's banner. That takes us straight to the current admission. Why don't we start a discharge plan? So here we can leverage the use of all your favorite templates to start pulling in information required for the planning of Maggie's discharge. So here's one particular thing I've pulled in. I can free type as well. For this demo, it's only pulled in the basics, but I mean, it could pull in all of the additional information we wanted it to as well. We can hit update, and we can have this as a working document for people to continually change and add to in preparation of Maggie's discharge. Going to go back to that admission now. We're now ready to discharge Maggie. So we're going to hit discharge. We have to put in a time and a date. I wonder if the system will let me just do it at that time. Yeah, good. Just we only had her admitted for 5 minutes. So I was wondering if the system would actually accept that. So now the way I've set up this demo environment is for based on the admission code. We've automatically grouped this admission for the patient or for the day surgery. Obviously, this isn't achievable for every single admission. I just want to show you, if I go back to admissions here for the patient, you can see it's been auto-coded. If we wanted to, or if we needed to manually code, we could go back to that admission, hit edit admission, go all the way down to diagnoses. I'm just going to put in some diagnoses here. So why don't we put in an E28 point, and I think the one we're going to use today is a 2. And then why don't we put in a diagnosis of U83.3. There we go. So just noting that asthma. And then for procedure, oh no, we won't have to because it was automatically grouped. That's fine. But why don't we put in some theatre information? Time of theatre. Let's try and make it accurate. The time on the computer is currently reading 9:48. So why don't we do 9:45? Time in theatre. Well, it was only 5 minutes, wasn't it? We could put in a theatre band, etc. We can hit update. And now we've manually put in diagnoses for that patient and for that day procedure. We have an integration in CareRight called 3M Grouper. At this stage, you could then group that if you needed to manually group that, but we've already manually done that. Go back to the admissions there. We can see that it's coded, but we can see it's not billed. So why don't we bill it? We're going to go back to dashboard, back on that location view. We can go to uninvoiced admissions. We can search for the 12th of the 7th. We can see here's Maggie's uninvoiced admission right here for the embryo transfer. We can select invoice, new invoice. We can see the co-payment, the excess is being pulled through. The item numbers would pull through too in your live account. It's just a bit of extra configurability work to do it for my demo environment, which I haven't done. I'm going to hit add line item. I can put in an ACCS code and a rate contract, and I can go create invoice. It's going to say, hey, we have a deposit registered towards this patient. Would you like to associate it? Yes, please. It's automatically going to allocate it to those item numbers that I've suggested. And now this is where we can really benefit from all of that hard work we did during the pre-admission. We entered in all the information that was required. And the way I've set up my demo environment is I've also satisfied all the requirement for an express IHC claim and stat reporting. So at this stage, I can just hit this button, express IHC claim, and that's my claiming completely done. No other manual work required as part of that. And now if I go back to that location view too, and if I go to Clintel Center, remember all these options are now for Clintel Center. If I go to stat reporting, this is where we could have all of your required stat reports ready. You can review the historical generation of these reports, or if it's time to run the report again, you can hit run, and then you can export that information. Okay, I guess the last thing to speak about today in our nice streamlined patient journey through a day surgery is that follow-up care with the patient. So if I go into Maggie's account, maybe it's a couple of weeks or a week after her embryo transfer, I want to follow up with Maggie to see how she's doing. A really nice way of doing that is via assessments, or AKA intelligent forms, and the patient interactive module. Just for an example, I'm going to search for an assessment within my library called video. Now I know that it has video in the name, and I'm looking for video post-op. I'm going to queue that one, and then I'm going to send that to Maggie via email. That's been successfully sent. I can now go to my demo inbox. Here's that video post-op that we've sent Maggie. Maggie can click on this link. She can go in, and now she's going to see a lovely video about what to expect and what she may be experiencing post that embryo transfer. I won't play it out there, but now I wanted to really kind of show you what we can do with automation triggers and workflows. Let's just say Maggie reviewed this and she decided that her pain and discomfort was at a level that may not be normal. You're asking the patient, are you experiencing any discomfort or pain? If Maggie selects yes, submits this assessment, then and I'm just going to hit refresh here, then if one of your admin people review Maggie's input, make sure that it makes sense, we can then approve it, which associates the data into Maggie's account. Just for FYI too, we can actually bypass that step. For particular assessments or smart forms, we can hit the option that it doesn't have to be manually checked by someone within your business to be associated with Maggie's account. So you have two options there. Either we can add in a review step, or we can take that review step out. And maybe for something like post-op pain, you'd probably take that admin review step out, so that now a new task has been generated. Maggie has said, yes, I am uncomfortable and I'm in pain. So this has actually generated a new task within Maggie's account, but it'll also be sent to the team. If I'm logging in as a nurse, I would see, if I'm logging in as an admin user, I will see there's a new admin task for the group. As an admin user working the 9:54 a.m. shift, I can assign that task to myself, and I can then follow up with Maggie. I can call her on the phone, I can book her in for a consultation or get her straight in. And once I've completed that task, I can hit complete, which then saves it to the audit trail of the system. So you've always got an audit trail, nothing falls through the gaps, full level of accountability for any workflow or task management that is required within your CareRight account. So I've tried to keep that quite short today. That's a really nice demo day surgery, streamlined patient transition through a typical day surgery. Would be interested to hear from you if your day surgery workflows are different, and I'd love to have a conversation about how CareRight can be configured to meet those requirements. Thank you very much.